Oh snap!
Is all.
Here we go.
Bruh, I always wonder whatever happened to Kel. Like, Keenan, we seen him in other shows, but like,
Oh yeah, fact. Now that show used to be top one.
Keenan and Kel was really it.
Yo, cat, bro. I'm ready to record this freestyle. Here we go. It's like, nah, it's not a freestyle because I'm reading off the word. Hearing comes from the word. What? Hearing comes from the word. Yeah, yeah. You have your heads in the Bible consistently because you think you'll find eternal life there. But you miss the forest for the trees. You miss the forest for the trees. These scriptures are all about me. And here I am, standing right here before you, and you aren't willing to receive from me the life to say you want. I'm not interested in crowd approval. And do you know why? Because I know you and your crowds. I know they love. I know that love, especially God's love, is not on your working agenda. I came with the authority of my Father, and you either dismiss me or avoid me. In addition, in another, if another came along acting self-important, you would welcome him with open arms. How do you expect to get there with God when you spend all your time jockeying for position with each other, ranking your rivals and ignoring God? But don't think I'm going to accuse you before my father, Moses, in whom you put so much stock in your accuser. If you really believed what Moses said, you would believe me. He wrote of me. If you won't take seriously what he wrote, how can I expect you take seriously what I speak? I, bread and fish for all. After Jesus said this, it was done in Gaul. Then Jesus went along and he went across the Sea of Galilee, some call it Tiberias. A huge crowd followed him, attracted him to what the miracles that they had seen him doing among the sick. When he got to the other side, he climbed a hill and sat down, surrounded by his disciples. It was nearly time for Jesus' feast of Passover, kept annually by the Jews. When Jesus looked out and saw that a large crowd had arrived, he said to Philip, "Yo, look at that. What? Where can we buy bread to feed these people?" He said, "What? This is to stretch Philip's faith." He already knew what he was going to do. Philip answered, what? 200 silver pieces wouldn't be enough to buy bread for each person to get a piece. One of the disciples said, it was me. It was Andrew, brother Simon's, and Sim to beat, said, "Where can we buy bread to feed these peoples?" He said, "This is to stretch Philip's faith." He said, what, and when we back, bread and fish and water, what, bread and fish for all. After seas up, what, bread and fish for all. After this, Jesus went across the Sea of Galilee, what, some call it Tiberias, Fury Sea. A huge crowd followed him, attracted by the miracles seen him do among the sick. What? When he got to the other side, he climbed a hill and he sat down, surrounded by his disciples. He said it was nearly time for the feast of Passover, kept annually by the Jews. What? When Jesus looked out and saw that a large crowd had arrived, he said to Philip, what? Where can we buy bread to feed these people? He said this to stretch Philip's faith. He already knew what he was going to say. What? Philip answered, and he said, 200 silver pieces wouldn't be enough bread to buy for the people. Even if they each get a piece, wouldn't be enough. What? One of the disciples, it was Andrew, brother to Simon like this. Jesus said, make the people sit down. There was a nice carpet of green grass in the place. He sat down, about 5,000 of them. Then Jesus took the bread and having given thanks, give it to those who were seated. He did the same with the fish. Ate all ate as much as they wanted. When the people had eaten their fill, he said to his disciples, get the what, gather the leftovers, so nothing is wasted. So they went back to work, filled 12 large baskets with leftovers from the 5 barely leftovers. What? The people realized that God was at work among them in what Jesus had just done. They said, hey yo, that's the one. It's the prophet for sure. God's prophet right here in Galilee. What? Jesus saw them enthusiastically. They were about to grab him and make him king. So he slipped off and went back up the mountain to be by himself. In the evening, his disciples went down to the sea, got in the boat and headed back across the watery Capernaum. What? It had grown quite dark and Jesus had not yet returned. What a huge wind blew up, churning the sea. Said a huge wind, what? Said the people realized that God was at work among them in what Jesus had just worked. Like Rihanna said, they said this is the prophet for sure. What? Run it back, then the people realized that God was at work among men in them. What? In Jesus, in what Jesus had just done. They thought that's the one, it's the prophet for sure. God's prophet right here in Galilee. Jesus saw him enthusiastically. They were him jumping. What? They were about to grab him, make him the king. So he slipped off and he went back up the mountain to be by himself. What'd he say? In the evening, his disciples went down to the sea, got in the boat, and headed back to Capernaum. What had grown quite dark, and Jesus had not yet returned. It's like, nah, he ain't yet returned. A huge wind blew up, got the churning up the sea. They were like, hey yo, maybe. They were maybe 3 or 4 miles out when they saw Jesus walking on the sea, quite near the boat. What? Quite near the boat. They were scared and senseless. But he reassured them, it's me, it's alright, don't be afraid. So they took a hike, so they took him on board in no time. They reached back and then what? They reached back and then the exact spot they were headed to. The next day the crowd was left behind, realized that there had been only one boat and that Jesus had not gotten into it with his disciples. They had seen him, they had seen them go off without him. But now boats from Tiberias had pulled up near where they had eaten the bread and blessed by the master. So when the crowd realized he was gone and wasn't coming back, they piled up into Tiberias' into Tiberias boats and headed for Capernaum. Looking for Jesus. When they found him back across the sea, they said, hey yo, Rabbi, where you been at, bro? When did you get here? What? Jesus answered, Jesus answered, you've come looking for me, not because you saw God in my actions, but because I fed you and you filled your stomachs and it was for free, and you don't nearly know me, the bread of life. Don't waste your energy striving for perseverable food like that. Work for the food that sticks with you, food that nourishes your lasting life. Food on the sun provides. What he does are guaranteed by the God the Father to last. That they said, well, what